My name is Dorothea Waite, and I live here at Snipsick Village. When I first met her, she was a lovely, good young lady. At that point, a little handicapped. And as time has gone by, she has gone downhill. Actually, I was concerned. Her door was open a bit, and I hadn't seen anybody go in there. Should we go in there to see if she's okay? As I approached the doorway into her bedroom, it was completely trashed.
Dorothea Waite lives in Ellington Housing Authority's elderly housing. Like her, 31 of the residents are seniors over the age of 62. 11 are under 62 and qualify to live there because of a disability. Those disabilities are certified by Social Security. They can be physical, developmental, or mental.
Everybody's being tossed into a place where they don't belong.
Over her 8 years there, Waite has witnessed the policy negatively impact her elderly neighbors, as well as disabled neighbors.
To see a young person like Diane completely go right to the bottom is really heartbreaking.
We chose to conceal Diane's face because of concern for her well-being, but her story is important because it is an example of a trend happening across the state. Diane once called her grandfather's Vernon house home.
It was right across the street from a big giant reservoir. It was pretty. It was nice.
She said it was the home where she was the happiest, but now this home, a room at the Red Roof Inn, doesn't spark the same response.
I don't like being here.
A week before this interview, 53-year-old Diane's home was just a few apartments away from Dorothea Waite's in Snipsick Village. Do you know why you're here?
No.
After years of living independently, Diane was pulled out of her home by social workers once things got this bad. Photos were taken by her concerned neighbor, Dorothea Waite.
It was distraught, disturbing, how a human person could live like that.
These photos were given to us by the Housing Authority, but long before her living conditions progressed to this point, there were signs that Diane, who suffered a traumatic brain injury, was not capable of living without help.
I wanted to be a dancer, ballerina, which I did for 12 years. But then I got in a car accident.
In her 20s, Diane had to relearn everything.
I had to go through speech therapy and occupational therapy and physical therapy. Yeah, it was tough.
After the accident left her disabled, Diane developed a drinking habit.
I can stop on my own. I'm not that addicted to it. Just habit.
So far, Diane has shown that she can't do everything on her own. She admits the paperwork is difficult for her.
I get confused.
Diane says medication can be hard to remember.
I end up doubling up.
Despite an apartment consistently covered in trash and filth for a year and multiple cleanings that she was never able to maintain,
I'd like someone to help me clean. The state said they won't cover it.
Diane is open to living with some kind of assistance.
That'd be good.
So why did it take such extreme circumstances for her to get it? In a 2004 Connecticut study on mixing populations in elderly disabled housing, researchers said some disabled residents may need more support, and giving that support should not fall to untrained housing authorities.
There may be persons who have been inappropriately placed.
Recommendations were made to address the need for help, but the News 8 investigators found they were never implemented. We requested information from 100 housing authorities across the state. We received responses from 66. Out of those, just 6 have official contracts with social service providers, something that was recommended in study after study. And not all housing authorities have staff to deal with the problem. Resident service coordinators were recommended with a salary funded by the state, and that amount is being cut.
I do see that there are more and more housing authorities who are seeking out more healthy relationships.
State Department of Housing Commissioner Yvonne Klein says connections are happening. Yet when we surveyed housing authorities and asked them to rate how helpful local and state mental health services are, most housing authorities rated them low, telling us their providers are unhelpful, unavailable, and not connected.
HUD doesn't want to be in a position of saying we're going to require you to do something.
That's the reason the Department of Housing and Urban Development official Jim Reed says his agency did not implement study recommendations either. HUD has many Connecticut elderly housing properties under their leadership.
If that housing authority in that community contacts us, we can guide them, we can help them.
Even in housing authorities where those contracts exist, such as New Haven's Matthew Rupolo Manor, tragedy can happen.
The guy is off his medication.
In August, a 38-year-old resident, Robert Orsino Rodriguez, charged police with a knife at an elderly housing authority. His mother told officers that he suffered from mental illness and he wanted to commit suicide by cop.
And his mother was telling him in Spanish to put the knife down, put the knife down. And he was charging after the cops with it. They shot him twice.
The New Haven police officer was forced to shoot. Orsino Rodriguez survived his injuries, and his mother told News 8 by phone that he returned to his apartment. But Diane is not returning to hers anytime soon. As things worsened, Ellington Housing Authority wrote letters warning she needs more support. Finally, Diane's social worker from the CHR agency stepped in. CHR told us in a statement that it strives to help clients live independently. But for some clients that need higher levels of support, budget cuts have made it difficult for them to find that type of housing. That leaves people like Diane with a life that's been uprooted, living in motel after motel, waiting for help. The state says responsibility to find help for tenants in situations like Diane's falls to unqualified staff at housing authorities.
That oftentimes is incumbent and is the responsibility of the executive director of a housing authority.
Ellington Housing Authority responded that they do seek help, but tenants are able to refuse services. But for others who may be in similar situations in elderly housing across the state, Diane's neighbor, Dorothea Waite, hopes that it doesn't take things getting this bad for them to help.
I can only hope and pray for the best for Diane. And that means this Diane and all the Dianes.